Part 1. In the far reaches of a forest several miles from Konoha, Naruto was facing Nagato Uzumaki. It was the end of their battle with his victory, but at a steep cost. Naruto was filled with absolute rage at the countless deaths of his people. His body was shaking from restraining himself from going wild, and the Kyuubi's chakra was leaking, making him seem like a demon. Nonetheless, Naruto was a professional and he controlled himself. He had already lost everything and now the enemy was in his grasp. He needed answers, but before that he was doing his grandfather a favor, show Nagato that he was wrong. I agree with you on the fact that I may have taken a wrong approach, but I do not believe in you. I do not think you are capable of leading the world towards peace. You have not lived through suffering, true suffering. You have not lived through hard choices, you have not seen the world. You are just a little child living in a dream world. You think I am vile, but you have never come across true evil. Humans are the vilest creatures that you can find, but they think themselves above it by labeling anything they don't like as inhumane. Nagato said in a passionate tone, and blood could be seen leaking from his mouth. Naruto stared at him with a clear gaze. He understood what Nagato meant, but it doesn't mean he agreed. The opponent was trying to paint him as an inexperienced child when Naruto had been in the field since a young age. He had personally seen the vilest creatures and seen wicked acts being done, as those memories had been implanted into him by the Yamanaka. He was the ultimate warrior of Konoha, and for that no one had spared anything. Then I just need to see the world like our master. And what do you mean that I don't understand pain? You killed everyone I loved and tell me I do not understand pain. Remember that you are only alive because I have a need for you. Naruto replied with clear rage in his tone as he was holding back from murdering the pathetic creature. Nagato chuckled at his reaction. I could be cruel and let you understand and grow, but we have no time. You are too weak and it will take too long for you to be strong enough to handle Madara. So I will send you somewhere he can never reach, but in exchange I will bring back everyone I killed today. Nagato smiled as he could see that Naruto endured his jibe even in this state. He knew what Naruto went through since young, but in the end that was a child being led by the adults. Naruto had yet to live his life without being guided. Fighting against Naruto and hearing his words, Nagato gained some confidence in his approach and realized that he had been blinded by the negative side of the world. He had been corrupted by the dark whispers of Madara, but now it was too late. He was dying and the enemy was too strong for Naruto. What? Naruto was shocked and hopeful as his rage went down. He closed the distance between them and put his hands on Nagato's shoulder. Can you really do that? Naruto asked and forgot the first part of Nagato's sentence as hope for revival took over him. He had lost everyone today, his people, friends and family. He had never been alone in his life. He had never lost so many people. It had already hit him hard when his grandfather died, followed by Asuma and Jiraiya. He had yet to even grieve for Jiraiya when Pain attacked with a surprise attack, and he was unable to stop such a large-scale attack from decimating the village. The people didn't even put up a resistance. They didn't even know what hit them and they all died except a few survivors. Yes, but you have to promise that you will leave this world. You still need to see the world and you won't be able to do that if you stay here, as Madara is going to start moving. He is too strong for anyone to resist. We may have a chance if we work together, but sadly I was too lost in my path and now my life is at its end. Nagato replied with a tired smile as he looked at his junior. He was happy that there was still someone out there left to carry out their goal. Someone who would work towards bringing the world to a peaceful conclusion. Naruto had proved it with his words and actions that he was walking the right path. He was someone that would never step out of his bounds. He was someone that would never ignore any injustice. He was someone that had been taught to lead people. His words and actions showed them clearly. Even the battle had shown the results of his training, as Nagato had been overpowered easily without relying on the Kyuubi and fighting with his own powers. Justice and peace, that was what Nagato wanted, and Naruto was walking that path without going astray. Naruto looked at him and seeing his expression plus his emotions, there was no lie involved. Bringing back his people and his friends in exchange for going away to an unknown place wasn't even a choice. I will go. Naruto calmed his heart and nodded. Good. A pulse of chakra was released from Nagato and Naruto could feel the lives of his people once again. They are alive. They are alive. Naruto couldn't believe it and smiled with joy, but before he could say anything he was woken from his dream. Now you can leave this world without much regrets. Nagato muttered as Conan activated the seal which blinded them all and transferred them instantly. Where are we? Naruto asked, his face clear of any emotions and completely calm as he noticed they were in a forest near a mountain. It was his default expression that had become normal because of his intense shinobi training. He wasn't supposed to show his real emotions on the face. He showed fake expressions and disturbed the mind of his foes. He would laugh and joke even when he was hurt and thinking of retreat. The death of many closed ones had forced him to break character after a long time, but now he was once again in full control. It is a new world where Madara can't follow us and take the Kyuubi. Conan replied as Nagato had already gone to sleep. Her voice was filled with pain and she picked him up from his seat where he had sat for decades since the usage of the Kyuubi husk. He had become a cripple and could never walk. It was the reason for the 6 paths of pain, or Nagato himself was a stronger enemy since he had all the powers combined in a single body. Nagato had long red hair which was normal of the Uzumaki clan, but his body showed nothing of their youthful stature, as he looked like a mummified body. He was so skinny that all his bones could be seen against his skin. His life was of constant pain, emotional, mental and physical. It was not hard to see why he went crazy. Naruto just felt burnt out now, but he still felt sympathy for his senior and relative. He had gone through an emotional roller coaster and been stranded in another world, but at least his people were alive, so he was slightly relieved. Looking at his companion, he could feel the raw emotions of Conan and followed her. Conan was a beautiful woman with short, straight blue hair with a bun, gray eyes with lavender eyeshadow, and elaborate piercing. Conan's eyelashes were a diagonal line at the bottom corner of her eyes. She wore a large light blue paper flower clipped on her bun since she was a child. She wore the Akatsuki cloak and her Akatsuki ring on her right middle finger, the kanji on it meaning white. She also wore orange nail polish. Underneath the robe, she wore a revealing navy blue robe, with a large hemline on the front, and exposed her arms, her back, the lateral part of her breast and her belly, with her navel being surrounded by 4 more piercings. Her headband was on her right hip. Instead of the standard sandals and leg warmers, she wore a pair of blue pants that also functioned as her shoes, with white high heels, inverting the organization's standard color scheme. She was a stoic and calm woman since the nightmare started, the opposite of her cheerful and happy disposition before the nightmare. She didn't like showing emotions as they only brought her pain. But today, she couldn't control herself. The last of her family had died. There is no way to get back, so give up on it. You will only put the world in danger with your presence, as Madara can easily take you down. He is untouchable, and with the Kyuubi he will devastate the world, erasing countries of the map. So if you care for the people, then you should focus on gaining power before thinking of going back. Remember, he can follow us, so don't waste your time. Conan said in an emotional tone, unlike her usual self, as she held Nagato, her last friend and family. With him gone, she was alone in this cruel world. Grieve for your friend in silence. Naruto muttered in a sympathetic tone. He had gotten back what he lost, but now he could never see them again, so this woman was his only companion in this unknown world. They were connected through the bond of apprenticeship to the same master. She was his senior. She had gone through a tragic life, but she was only saved from Naruto's hands because of her refusal to take part in the criminal acts done by her group. Conan had killed, but she had never touched an innocent soul. Naruto was aware of the group's actions through the intelligence service under his command passed down to him from Jiraiya. His belief demanded that people should be executed for the killing of innocent lives. From a young age he had been taught to uphold fairness and justice. He was born to be a leader, to lead Konoha to greatness and to lead the world to a new age, the age of harmony and justice. He had been trained since young age by Kakashi and the third Hokage before becoming the student of Jiraiya, who was like his grandfather. Life in Konoha had been eventful and harsh as he was always busy, but the people loved him. Everyone showed care for him and he loved them back. For those smiles, those words of encouragement, and for those lives that had been lost, Naruto raced forward to the goal of bringing peace to the world of eternal conflict. It was his dream. It was his passion, and he just couldn't imagine the world without his control. Letting Conan grieve in silence, Naruto thought about his situation as he was relieved but worried nonetheless about future possibilities. He agreed with Nagato that he was still green, yet to see the world. He had only traveled to few places and he had not come across all kinds of scenarios since it was the right age for training. Walking alone in the forest after sensing for any threats as he was still in Sage mode, Naruto was relieved that there were none within 100 miles. Sage mode was a technique that gave Naruto a 10 times boost to his base power. It was a technique that mixed the chakra in his body with the nature energy from the world. The higher the amount of chakra and nature energy was used, the stronger Naruto would get and the duration increased with the amount. It was a high-class skill that only few people knew, and the number could be counted by hand. Will they be alright? What if someone attacked again? Can I never see my friends again? Naruto knew this was the right choice, but he felt the pain of this sacrifice. He was away from his people. His people had to live with one less guardian when they had already lost Jiraiya. He was taught to keep his calm always and look for the solution. He had learned from many people and was the amalgamation of Konoha as a whole. His childhood was far from normal, as he had always been surrounded by people that cared for his needs so that the Kyuubi could never whisper its dark words into the young mind. The third Hokage had been extremely careful about not letting the monster corrupt Naruto, and everyone had agreed to it. Konoha had been on its last legs as they had lost quarter of their force along with Minato and Kushina, and they needed a replacement for it. They had always avoided relying on the Kyuubi, but there was no choice. It was decided that Naruto would be their ultimate weapon and guardian. Konoha had information on all the other Jinchuriki and knew the different methods that had been tested. The best had been Kumo's family style. This worked in Hiruzen's and Jiraiya's favor, as they didn't want Naruto to be treated like a weapon. Naruto became family to every clan and he was taught their skills. His education was accelerated and majority of his life was with adults. He had played with little kids, but they never suited him, too weak and fragile. Regardless, his family couldn't allow Naruto to become flawed, so they guided him through relationships. They built his social skills and pushed the young Naruto in communicating with people. They taught him that it was his duty to communicate. He couldn't look down on them. He was supposed to be humble and show patience. With that, he became friends with other people and learned how to enjoy life. This further influenced by his caretakers Kakashi, Hiruzen, Asuma and Jiraiya. Naruto was an expert at reading people and understanding them, as he ended developing such abilities when his goal started to take shape. The goal to bring peace to the world, as he didn't like people suffering. He looked young, but with the usage of shadow clonus, he had memories worth centuries. With that, he was unbeatable on the same level. His fighting skills were matchless. The problem with Madara was that his stats were supreme. The man had fought Hashirama and both had changed the map. Their battle had erased islands and mountain ranges. Naruto could only beat Madara's prime that had been recorded with the usage of Sage Mode. But that prime version recorded was 70 years ago, so Madara would be technically stronger than ever if he actually lived to the current point. At his current age, Naruto was definitely a monster, but reality was cruel and Madara wasn't going to de-age himself for a fair fight. Let's see, he is stronger than me. His prime is around my level and that was long time ago, so he should be stronger now with mysterious skills. I don't know how to get back. I need to subdue to the Kyuubi. I need to get stronger before he finds me, for that the Kyuubi's full cooperation could give me the edge in making my base stronger, but I will need to get better skills or weapons. Naruto thought up millions of things as he walked cautiously and ready for any attack. His body was still in combat mode and had yet to relax completely, and he could never really relax in an unfamiliar environment. He was lost in his thoughts, but his senses were still working and he found young adults camping nearby. There was no sign of chakra inside of them. They were totally normal people from the level of life force he sensed. But from the way they moved, Naruto could tell they were fighters and not normal people. Did we end up in some normal human world? Naruto questioned while walking towards the humans to get some information using basic Jinjutsu, mind control. He didn't expect to know the language of an unknown world, but just in case he tried. Hello, Naruto called out as he walked out into the clearing near the stream. Barbara and Richard Dick Grayson looked at him with a confused expression as they didn't understand his words. They were always on guard, but they didn't even hear him walk towards them. He was a ninja was their first thought. Second, he was a metahuman. Both of them were trained individuals and fought crime, so their first reaction was to subdue him if he tried something funny. Listen to my words, and answer my queries, Naruto muttered, and the duo went into a trance as they were caught by the jutsu. He could tell that they were ready to attack him if they thought he was too suspicious, and that would be a pointless encounter. It was Jinjutsu that used sound as the base. Naruto closed the distance between them and placed his hand on their heads to have them speak what he needed, to peek into their memories. He had learned from other clans as well and was the best with the skills because of his shadow clone abuse. Shadow clonus were clonus made from Naruto's chakra, and these clonus were his exact clonus. They had the same knowledge as him and would transfer their memories to him upon death or cancellation. The skill was heavy on chakra and the chakra was divided according to the amount of clonus. The clonus had the same level of power as Naruto, but their durability depended on the amount of chakra they carried. It was the skill that made Naruto supreme, and none was able to replicate the effect because they lacked the physique and chakra levels. Naruto's mind was genetically modified to handle issues propping from the heavy amount of information it received, and he had learned multiple techniques to solve problems of pain and other brain issues. Richard and Barbara looked far from average from just one touch, and he could sense their body strength. They were stronger than normal humans, born or they were genetically enhanced. Naruto couldn't tell without checking their memories or hearing from them. Utilizing the Yamanaka technique and Jinjutsu together, Naruto asked them simple things from their name to information about the world. The man was called Richard John Grayson, adopted son of Bruce Wayne, and the girl was Barbara Gordon. Richard was a handsome man with a lean muscled body that was just perfect. He had black hair and blue eyes. He was in his 20s but was swamped by worries. Barbara was a beautiful girl with long red hair and green eyes. Just like Richard, she had a perfectly fit body that was made for combat. She was in the same age range and was more outgoing than Richard, though both had worries. They were close friends that trained at the dojo together, and it was the reason why their bodies seemed so ready for combat. They were there for a picnic and to rest from the hubbub of the city. Richard intended to talk about his relationship problems with Barbara since they were very close. These two were normal, but this world wasn't normal at all. It was filled with monsters, aliens and mutants. The world was filled with crime that made his world look saintly in comparison. It was a place hanging by a thin thread, as so many powerful beings existed in the world, and these beings somehow found reasons to cause a mess on Earth. The world was lucky that it had so many people that were selfless enough to fight for them. Unfortunately, these heroes seemed to fear stepping out too far from the limits of the world and would never kill the criminals causing the damage, while the government seemed to be on the game itself, as the villains did not get the death penalty after escaping more than once. It was a strange world indeed, and filthy at that. It was advanced beyond his world's level, but the people were more miserable than his own. Looking at the situation, Naruto could tell that this world was dangerous for him at his level. He couldn't really trust the heroes either, as they would most likely lead to more problems for him. He could maybe make use of them from the shadows but never associate with them. The situation was dangerous, but he wasn't worried and was kind of relieved after seeing the data, as he had almost concluded it was a normal world. Normal world would be really bad for him since he wouldn't have practice partners and dangerous battles to help him grow. He didn't have unlimited time or something to grow slowly, and only through battles was the potential properly exploited. In the current world he had variety of foes to defeat and learn from. He had many ways to make himself stronger by acquiring the technology and knowledge of the world. Those were all reasons why he would fight in the current world, and he won't spare the heroes either. They seem to need a wake-up call, so if he got a chance to teach them, then he would teach them for the betterment of the world. Since he was in this world, Naruto intended to clear away whatever he could from this world. No matter where he went, he still represented justice and fairness. He couldn't just sit down and let evil grow. Through these memories he could see that there were many useful things for him, and even people that he could tame for his battle against Madara. According to his understanding, Madara should be at least in the ranges of a country destroyer according to his level of growth. It was reported that the battle between him and Hashirama had caused a kingdom to disappear. His Susanoo sliced through mountains like they were tofu, and it was humongous. At the moment Naruto was capable of destroying a large city or small country, but he had no counter for Madara's main Gekyo ability to go intangible. Madara also had the time reversal ability that was recorded down by Hashirama. The opponent had abilities that Naruto had no counter to at the moment and was powerful enough to take him out within a minute. With normal training it would take him at least 3 years to arrive at that stage, but he didn't believe there was that much time. He had to finish up everything within 2 years and kill him, and burn his body to be sure. With Sage Mode training my power should increase faster and finish up within 2 years. But the problem is, the fact this assumption takes into account only Madara's previous level. He had 60 years to train and improve himself. There is no way he is still within this level. I assume he has the power to destroy the whole land of fire by now. He didn't want to use his power to take over the world to avoid bloodshed. It seems he really intends to use the eternal illusion from Legends. Naruto disappeared into the forest, leaving Barbara and Richard without them noticing his presence. He had trained and learned many things throughout life. One of the things was the legends of old that were very important to the shinobi. They were related to the Sage of Six Paths. From those he had understood that the Biju were the creation of the sage, and together they formed a vicious beast of apocalypse that would end the world. There was also mention of the immortal queen that ruled the world and brought a peaceful era. There was also mention of starting the process with eternal illusion in a giant tree. From these clues and the abilities of the Akatsuki, Jiraiya and Naruto had already theorized that they intended to merge the Biju into one somehow. Meeting Pain and learning about Madara gave him the final piece of the puzzle to realize their ultimate goal. Madara wanted to bring peace to the accursed world, but the man was arrogant, prideful and warlike. His suggestions were to bring down a rain of blood in this world and conquer it. The man was a crazy bastard and one of the biggest reasons why the world became even more messed up, since he destroyed the delicate balance, as Hashirama's death was partly his fault. If he just worked with Hashirama, the world would have been at peace, since nobody could have stood against their combined power at that time. If he has much power, why didn't he just try to take over the world one by one from the shadows? Sigh, I will never understand insane bastards. Naruto thought as walked deeper into the forest toward Konan. On the other hand, the young adults went back to their activities without realizing what had just happened. Though they had their memories scanned, it was of no consequence to them because of magical seal made by Dr. Fate. Batman was always careful, especially after experiencing having his memories read. He decided to take countermeasures for such a situation and took help from Dr. Fate. The seal make sure that no one could see memories involving the hero life, and they wouldn't feel the seal's presence either unless they were very powerful beings. This way no one would find them interesting because of the seal or kill them when they couldn't see any memories. It was the perfect measure for such a situation. To go further, Batman had also got them a protection seal and locator seal so the case of Jason Todd would not repeat. Jason Todd was the second Robin and he had died by the hands of the Joker. It was one of the most painful moments for Bruce and it had tested him. He was a man of principles and he had vowed to never kill, never hold a gun. At that moment, he had beaten Joker to the brink of death and wanted to wring his fragile neck, but he didn't because Superman had stopped him and made him remember his vows. Batman stopped, but that only led to other issues in the family. It was the reason for Richard and Bruce breaking off. Their relationship was strained from that incident as Richard wanted to kill Joker but Bruce stopped him. Nagato, I don't understand your purpose. Why did you have to do this? What did you see that I am unaware of? Why couldn't you share your concerns with me? Were we not closer than siblings? Is the boy truly worthy of your sacrifice? He may be stronger than me and you, but just like you said, it is pointless, so why did this happen? Did you waver in the time of weakness? Konan, as she stared at the grave she had dug for her friend. She had followed his commands without a question, but now that he was dead, she was left alone. No companion, no friend to share her grief. Konan did not hold anything positive about Naruto. To her, he was just a little child that had never seen the world. He was a person that didn't deserve to think about leading as he had yet to experience the cruelty of the world. Are you sure about digging a grave here? Naruto asked as he arrived at her location. She headed deep into the forest and dug a simple grave. It's good enough. Did you find anything? Konan collected herself and turned around to see the boy having regained his spirit. Just could see he had a strong mind that didn't get stressed out from unknown situations. He was relaxed even in this situation where he had lost contact with everything he knew. Naruto nodded and didn't care what she did since Nagato was just an enemy to him. He might have been his senior and a man with a good intentions, but he was misguided and deserved death. He felt nothing for the man except sadness that he was never saved that day from becoming this monster. I got the information and can conclude this world is more dangerous than ours. From now on, I'll stay in the shadows to avoid attention. Understood, Naruto replied calmly as he looked at the cold but beautiful woman. He was to enjoy beauty, but his dislike for her previous actions kept him away. She was only alive because he had a need for her and he promised Nagato to keep her safe. She was also lucky enough to never have participated in massacres like the rest of the Akatsuki and was one of the peaceful members that helped out her village. Taking from that, Naruto gave her a second chance at life, or he would have just murdered her after taking the Rinnegan. He would give her soul out for the information, so technically he had no use for her but let her live because she was from his home world and she deserved a second chance. He could have was depressed and lost. She regretted her actions even if they were few in between. Nagato had said she didn't really participate in criminal activities and helped out with the management of the village. She had tried to talk to him but he had never listened. Naruto could tell he was telling the truth and Nagato understood him, so he gave him reasons to let her live. The man never trusted Conan's life in Naruto's hand without passing on that info, since he should have known that Naruto killed every person that was a scumbag criminal with no redeeming quality. What do you plan to do now? Conan asked as a test of his character. She had the knowledge on his deeds and upbringing, but she wanted to see it with her own eyes. She wanted to see what Nagato saw in him at the last moment. She wanted to see if he was worthy of his eyes. The same as always: train, fight, learn new things, enjoy life and kill scum. I continue the similar path, but with slight difference, since this world has more powerful beings than ours. I don't make my power known this time around, and I am going to help the world improve from the shadows as much as I can. Did you think I would answer something else? Naruto smiled knowingly. He could see that the question was like a confirmation of sorts. Why do you intend to help this world? Conan mind that he understood her reasoning and continued to ask. Justice. I never limited my range to one place. I would never allow for injustice to exist. I was brought up for it. Remember it well, Conan. From now on you are my follower, and I will show you how to improve the world. Your group it back home easily as well, but Nagato had already lost his mind and most of your people were utter scum. Naruto, as he took her hand and carved a seal on her palm. Conan didn't resist or block it. She was here to follow him. He wasn't she had any connection to, and he was the person chosen by her master and brother. His answers were satisfactory and had no signs of hypocrisy. If he had answered wrong, she intended to kill herself and destroy the Rinnegan. She would never allow someone like Nagato to surface again. They had done it once and there was no need to repeat it. The language, Conan questioned as he finished. It's to rely on your Jinjutsu skills to communicate for now and learn the languages. We are going to Gotham now and we will clean up the place while looking for the League of Shadows. I have lost my connection to Konoha, so I need another big shadow organization under me for my goals. These are normal human assassins, but they seem to have resources and influence. Naruto replied and explained things she would have asked before she asked. Understood. Store Nagato in the storage seal. People here can also clone others and use genetic manipulation better than Orochimaru. Naruto where the man was put to rest, but he didn't want people from this world studying the corpse. Listening to his words, Conan understood, and paper spread around her as it dug out Nagato before he disappeared into the storage seal on her breast. I will cremate him once we find a proper place. Conan also didn't want anyone disrespecting the corpse of her family. Good, let's go. Remember to avoid attention. Naruto said one more time, and they flew towards Gotham while becoming invisible. It was Jiraiya's technique that he had taught his students. Conan flew using her wings while Naruto used wind flight, as he was the master of wind manipulation. While Naruto left, Richard and Barbara continued normally. They found the camping material by the river and took out fishing material. Life had been very hectic and with high level of fluctuations. Richard could feel his spirit getting fatigued from all this work. They were putting their lives on the line for people, but the system was intent on not doing their job. It made the villains, but he couldn't. The system wanted them to do it. The government hated them as they were not under their control. They were not notice that they were manipulating public opinion into blaming the heroes for not taking care of the villain, instead of taking responsibility. Once heroes killed villains, they would become criminals. The system would have more ammo to brainwash the citizens. Not every hero was like Batman, obsessed with not killing. Most of them because of these circumstances. Superman was in the worst position since he was an alien. If he took one wrong step, people would be calling for his head. Batman had trying to fix the system, but it wasn't an easy task as too many forces were involved. Villains could take advantage of it, and the heroes didn't want to use excessive methods as they might lose their way and start controlling everything. Sigh, why is our world so damn unlucky? Richard sat down beside the river with his fishing gear. He was here to relax and find some solace from the dangers of life. I suppose it's a rhetorical question, but the answer you are looking for is corruption, fear and selfishness. If the government killed the criminals instead of trying to use them, we would have an easier life. Barbara whipped her long ponytail and sat down beside him. She was a charming and intelligent lady with a sassy attitude. Her father worked for the police department, so she had been privy to a lot of these things from a young age. The world tech had arrived, but the police had yet to be armed with anything powerful. The police were not equipped to handle the new world. The day of police brutality was over long time ago. It was rare in this age as the police genuinely feared the people. It was possible since anyone could turn out to be an alien, ghost or metahuman. Death was very common. People didn't give a shit and only funded their research along with formation of special squads. The most recent was the Suicide Squad, but there was also the Justice League of America, Team 7 and whatnot. Anyone with knowledge could see that this was a setup. The high didn't want accidental killing of their future subjects, and they also used the human lives to garner emotional control. There was no system, and it treated human life as expendable resource. That is an ideal world, where we could have worked with them instead of fighting against them. Let's not talk about it, my mood will get worse. Richard decided not to continue on these thoughts as they made him frustrated. The system wanted to control them because of fear and selfishness, while the heroes couldn't allow such a thing because the government never represented justice and dealt in shady things. It was some top-level secret. Everyone and their moms knew what kind of shit the government had been involved in, but nobody cared unless the shit hit them in the face. Barbara nodded with a wry smile before pumping herself up. So, how has your relationship been going after you rejected my confession? Looking at that smile, Richard groaned. He went with Barbara instead of Cyborg or Beast Boy or Superboy. Then he remembered that all of them were terrible at what he needed at the moment. Terrible, just terrible. I have the reality of how dangerous a relationship with a super being is. Every moment feels like I am on the edge of death. Corey is getting frustrated and I am also not happy with the situation. We can't even act intimate because Corey might end up killing me by mistake. Ha ha ha, you so deserve that. You are you know that. But you still love me and I am loved by the masses, Barbara replied with a smug smile as she moved her eyebrows suggestively. Though the situation is laughable, showing your lack of future planning because you were too happy, I can see the pain you guys are going through. Why not ask Superman to make you part Kryptonian? That would deal here. Richard rolled his eyes. I thought of that and I doubt he is going to let me do that. I also feel averse to changing my species like that. You will have compromise because Corey is emotional and driven by instinct. Are you telling me to give up being human? Well, or you could backtrack and come to me. Barbara chuckled. It had been a year since that happened and she had kind of moved on from Richard. She just found amusement in teasing him about it. An attractive proposal, but I still love Corey. Maybe I could just get some minor enhancements and learn magic for further help. This could improve my fighting chances as well. The first option is possible and you could visit Veritas for it, but the other option will take too long. You will become old before learning something useful. Barbara cut him down as she had also been interested in the mystic arts once after meeting Zatanna and Raven. Well, let's more. I don't want to regret my decision. Richard looked at the water and caught a fish. He led talking to Barbara about casual topics to loosen up as they had been very busy these weeks. Naruto and Conan arrived in Gotham within moments. They were using the invisibility jutsu to avoid detection as well as anti-detection seals. It was a new world. It was a dangerous world where Naruto had once again become one of the weak players. In the ninja that people feared going against. He was the ultimate weapon of Konoha. His power had been unrivaled, that Pain had to use underhanded methods to fight him. Pain had and made the fight take place inside Konoha. Naruto had to fight while protecting everything around him. Pain warned him that he would kill everyone. In his normal form he was equal to Pain, and with any of his power-up skills he would trash anyone in the ninja world. Regardless, Pain ended up using the charged almighty push once he saw that people were getting evacuated and Naruto was pushing him away from the city. Naruto was slow to react because he was distracted by a civilian and the attack destroyed the town. It broke his restraints and it became a one-sided slaughter once he entered Sage mode. Power-wise, Naruto was very close to Madara that had fought Hashirama and he had learned many skills to give him the advantage. He was talented with seals and barriers because of his Uzumaki blood. The blood through genetic manipulation by Tsunade. Naruto was the ultimate weapon. He was groomed to be the Emperor Mankind. He was him closer to that level. He had elite warriors following him and he was granted everything that would make him grow. He had gotten Uzumaki, Senju, Uchiha and Kaguya clan blood mixed into his system. It was a dangerous process that would kill anyone else, but Naruto was the Kyuubi vessel, so he survived it without any problems. He had perfect chakra control. After having a talk with Kyuubi about messing with his system and tightening the seal, he had control over all elements. He specialized in wind and water but utilized all of them, even ice, magma and Makuton. He could control his skeletal structure and blood. He had extreme Ragen abilities gained from insane training. He had his body chopped into pieces to train the ability, and now he could Ragen his whole arm in nanoseconds. He was a complete monster until there was chakra in his system. Not even destroying his head would kill him. But, even with all that power, he couldn't fight Madara. Naruto knew about Madara and Hashirama as they were his targets. He was brought up to surpass them, to make them look weak. The Emperor of Mankind should not have equals. It was by Danzo, and the others had silently agreed to it. They hadn't said it, but in indirect ways, they also meant the same. Madara only been in his 30s. If he continued to live and grow, then Naruto wouldn't have chance against him at the current level. Naruto couldn't take the risk, so he was content with staying in the alien world. For whatever reason, Madara wanted the Kyuubi and wouldn't start without it. So, this was the best solution. Reading stories from the human beings, Naruto did consider asking the heroes. But, that didn't last more than a moment. He could never trust them. They stood on opposite sides. In their eyes, villain. He could wait for his power to grow, but if these lunatics knew about his world and found about his goals, they would imprison him. His goal, his methods might not always be acceptable by these people. He didn't care about people's lives once they passed a certain limit, and he had killed from the age of 10. His hands were filled with blood of thousands of scum. Konoha had stopped taking any wrong type of mission from the day it was decided that Naruto would be raised for such a task, since Naruto would have murdered them all. The city hid its darkness and looked like any metropolis. It had everything that a person would need, except adequate amount of greenery. It had large amount of factories, meaning a lot of pollution. It was a city that was uncaring about the people, and the people in general were very cold-natured. It encouraged immorality. It was a land that had corrupted its citizens, from the top to the bottom. It was a city filled with corrupt officials, criminal gangs and supervillains. The only fight such problems was Batman and his family most of the time. There were times when other heroes interfered. This was never enough, but people didn't leave. No matter how bad Gotham was, it was still their city. It was safer than other places. At least they didn't have any top-tier supervillains in their area like Metropolis. That's it. Were the type that could erase the city by mistake. Looking at such things, Gotham people were happy with what they had and just wanted to improve their city. Nonetheless, Naruto was impressed by the architecture and technology. The duo had landed on a high-rise building and took in everything in their sight. Naruto and could see for miles. There was no barrier around the city, unlike his expectation. He was missing data to conclude a reason for such a thing. He had seen a beautiful and charming woman called Zatanna in the memories, and she could have easily done it from what he saw. Even the dark could have done it. Or he was just making assumptions without clear information. Naruto decided to check for the reason later, but it was good for him and helped him avoid detection. Going back to the city, Naruto had never seen so many people in one place. It was crowded with people. Naruto had dropped his sage mode, or he would have felt disgusted by the place. He remembered getting a similar feeling from the Land of Rain. What do you intend to do now? Konan's over. It was different, but her cold dead heart felt nothing but indifference. We need a place to stay, and then I will scout the area for more information. Naruto replied while looking at his companion, who was not going to make his stay any comfortable. Konan wasn't trusted either, and this was her last chance at life because she wasn't far gone. He criminal scum to work and repay the world for their crimes. If he found no use for them, it was immediate execution. This all that the person had no right to live depending on their life choices. He won a second chance, though it was under his supervision and with a bomb attached to their skin. This was given to people because his rule was not the rule of the world, yet. Once he became the ruler, then there were no second chances, because then everyone would know him. Brain. They didn't respect the rules and didn't care if he took action or not. Huh? Conan inquired. We are going to borrow a place or take one from some criminal. I thought Breaking rules, isn't that a criminal offense? Conan asked as she was curious about his mindset. How did he really think? I am, since it doesn't really harm anyone. Nobody is going to miss an empty room and we will be like wraiths before we find a good place. I will break into places, if I consider it for the greater good. Only when it comes to the lives of people, I don't compromise. I don't accept sacrifices. Material things don't have the same importance and it is for the good of the world, not some personal greed. Naruto answered with more detail than he planned because he wanted to help her understand his mindset. If she thought she might not change and he would be forced to end her. He also liked having someone to question him. This was one thing that he had been taught clearly. Don't surround yourself with yes men, or you will never succeed. He understood those words and he had people like Satsuki, Ino, Sakura, Hinata, Temari, Gaara, Shikamaru and Sai around him. None of them purpose and decisions. Conan nodded and she found his answer satisfactory as he didn't put himself above his limits. She personally had no problem with stealing when it was a necessity, but the target had to be someone who wouldn't feel it on the wallet. Naruto from people he considered slightly evil. He would check first and decide to empty them or not. Let's look for a place where you can rest. Naruto. She was taken aback by his words. Even though he disliked her, he was still being nice and caring about her mental health. The duo and watched everything from above for a while before Naruto's ear caught something. It was a cry for help. Naruto rushed towards the location with haste and Conan followed behind. It came from large apartment building with multiple floors. On the top floor, it was a penthouse. Naruto saw security in the place but put them to sleep with his breath. One of the skills he had learned was poison making and it was a technique that Shizune and Anko indulged in. Naruto had been subject to all kinds of poisons and things to build up his resistance. So, it was easy to make a sleeping powder. Without a stop, Naruto entered the room where he heard the cry. It was a large. Naruto had mapped it out with wind as he avoided using pure chakra for the process. It could leave a trace. The room was huge and it had maze-type shape. The penthouse. It was luxurious and big. The room seemed to be used for immoral actions. Inside found a couple wearing indecent clothes and they were playing with an underage girl. The girl looked to be 13. She was naked. Her man was holding. Her hands and legs were cuffed to the bed while the rotund man was licking her indecently. It was a display he hadn't come across. People from the top to bottom, you will find them indulge in such acts. And they had no fear of repercussions. Naruto didn't speak and just like a ghost, he put them all to sleep. He needed them alive to read their memories. Naruto wounds before reading her memory. It wasn't nice. She was an orphan. She used to have a mother while her father had died before she was even born. Her mother while working at a restaurant. The gangster got her address down and entered the home at night once she had refused him. Everyone was jumpy and a light sleeper. Her mother woke up when she heard a sound and got her gun. Shadow appeared in sight. The gangster died but it wasn't long that the gang took revenge. He was a member under Two-Face, so the mother's fate was chosen by a coin toss. Death or life. She was shot and killed instantly while the little girl was sold as a sex slave. She had white hair and red eyes. Her petite body appealed to the pedophiles even though she was actually 16 years old and not 12 or something. Her mother data and the little girl had only suffered nightmarish conditions from then. She couldn't even kill herself. She was secretly where she was told to run through the maze. It was a game. She had to find a golden orb to get out of the place safely. But filled with traps to hinder her. She could escape strapping her to the bed where they were going violate her for some time. Naruto, the chakra flow through her body to help her mental state. She was close to breaking. With and gave her a push towards moving on from her loss. Leaving the girl, he went towards the man. He looked disgusting, fat and out of shape. The fat on breathing. Naruto didn't judge people by looks and put his hand on the man. George Harrison. He was the owner of around the city. He had shares in pharma companies and other things. He was and used their services for his disgusting hobbies. He loved to eat. He loved to indulge in luxuries. He loved sex, not normal kind, as it just didn't work with him anymore. He was a perverted bastard that got on tears and the taboo. He had his apartment through the usage of blackmail. He also liked having sex with pudding people, little girls, and he killed them after breaking them. His wife also liked doing similar cruel things. She was a sadistic woman that liked harming people and got high on it. They all got away with it because Batman couldn't be everywhere. There were up all crime. They were secretive about it and did good deeds while in public. This was their real personality. While in the outside world they were decent people. With the data inside his head, Naruto killed both of them and put some of their blood and hair in a container. With the items secured, he erased their bodies using atomic dismantling. It was one of the secret techniques of Iwa alongside explosion style and golem creation. Naruto into Iwa and stolen the secrets, even fought against the Tsuchikage. The Akatsuki had done him a favor by removing the vessels. It was an deaths and took advantage of the situation. Conan looked at him perform in a smooth manner. There was to acting in a similar manner. She agreed with his answer and she didn't need to see their memories to give her judgment. We will be staying here. You know how to use true transformation. Naruto turned to Conan once he was done. It was even he couldn't save everyone. The world had to change or everyone had to be marked by a seal that killed them if they acted on such actions. Naruto in such a manner at the moment, it would end up killing everyone without giving them a second chance. He would get something that drastic. No, never needed it. Conan knew it was a useful skill but she never needed it. She didn't want and took the sins on her body. True transformation was different from transformation technique in rank, difficulty and functions. Transformation was known by every ninja and could change the body to anything the user desired. But, it didn't hide the aura and smell of the user. True transformation used things from other people and then transformed the user into them. It changed the aura, voice and smell. No one would find out unless it came down to the personality. This would help them match them with their real forms. Naruto closed the distance between them. Don't resist, I will give it to you. With those words, Conan felt foreign memories enter her mind. She got memories of using the jutsu and Naruto passed her the hair from the woman. Conan formed into Stella. Stella was a beautiful looking woman with black and white hair. Naruto also transformed into a fat bastard and made a clone to deliver Jackie, the little girl, to Metropolis with some money and knowledge. Keeping likely be in danger and he didn't want weak little civilians around him. They would be a liability. He gave Jackie fighting skills of a genin and some normal skills. She could easily get a job and she also got some money from him to survive. He got her a room in a small hotel and left her on the bed. Worse in some ways, but at least no gang had much power in the area for two reasons. Superman and Lex Luthor. Naruto also changed the memories so she didn't remember the evil couple and she also never saw them. With that, Naruto also changed the memories of the guards so they didn't remember falling asleep. He also put explosion seals on their body. These people weren't good either as they also indulged in the perverse acts of their owner. Having dealt with issues, Naruto and Conan looked around the place. It was a nice place and it looked better than his mansion back in Konoha. Naruto found all the information he had collected down on paper for recording purpose and for Conan. She was within a minute he had jotted down everything from the memories he had seen. It is quite dangerous. Our main objective is getting stronger and building a new team, so I will be focusing on it. And you will also train. Naruto, I've already reached my limits and I won't grow unless I take some drugs. I will help you grow stronger. You increase the chakra levels of others. I will help you grow and teach you Sage Mode. We need to cover all bases and I can't move alone. Naruto shock. It made him smile as she broke her composure with that comment. Conan was obviously shocked as he just told her that he was going to teach her Sage Mode, something that was a secret and would make her reach Nagato's level of power. Are you sure? I am, and I need you. Alone, I may lose my way, Naruto replied calmly. His words were sweet and enticing, one of his ways of controlling others. Understood, I will follow your plan, Conan said coolly and watched him. Then rest for now, we will train tonight. Naruto stood up, left Conan in her room. He went to the room sofa while entering Sage Mode. With Sage Mode, Naruto was deeply connected to the planet and nature as whole. Nature was everything around him, trees, stones, the stars, the moon and everything else in the universe. It was one of one had ever researched it completely since it was hard maintaining it for a long time. Naruto had seen power greater than his imagination. He understood that there were no limits, so he could go crazy on it. He wished Kyuubi and slowly grow it. Sage Mode was mixing chakra with nature energy, so he could only absorb nature energy that equaled his chakra. He had directly gave him permanent boosts in physical stats and even chakra. The chakra quality increased. But Kyuubi to stop. Getting back to the topic, the planet was sick and he could feel it. Everything not happy. The nature energy of the world was high, but it needed to be taken carefully. It felt like interacting with someone's chakra, meaning the planet was alive. He desired to connect. The planet was calling out to him. It was an attractive offer. He felt compelled to answer the call. His mind was green everywhere and he felt relaxed. He felt like he was in the embrace of the world and his connection to nature seemed to increase. It only time. That was weird. Even the planet is alive now and charmed by this handsome look. Damn, I am good. Naruto later. Now, he had no chance against such a force. It could much effort to do something else. Leaving that thought alone, Naruto utilized his Sage Mode to check the city. He was higher. His senses could cover the whole city and he could feel every living being in it. He was life force, meaning not so human. Naruto was looking for such beings for two reasons. 1, they could act as his servants. 2, the normal people. It didn't long for Naruto to see the signals. There weren't many and the difference wasn't huge, as the signal could be compared to a genin. That was not another city. He would have increased his cautiousness if there had been a strong signal. Everything in the current taught in things he didn't know. Magic, advanced technology that wasn't available to the normal people. With the targets in mind, Naruto made clonus. There were made 4. Naruto didn't intend to go into the field with his body at this stage. He was going to manipulate everything from the shadows. His clonus were of his chakra levels since he divided it. He made the clonus using only 10% of his chakra and that was divided by 4. The clonus and everything, it was perfect, but it would have been better if he didn't have to risk his memories getting caught. Some of his memories, it was the risk that came from the clonus. To counter this problem, Naruto utilized his mental technique to have a mental barrier and could control the clonus like robots. He could this while controlling his original body using his original skill called parallel minds. He went on 10 subjects, meaning he had 10 minds in one head. It meant that through his clonus, he could be in 10 places at once. Naruto moved toward the targets. Naruto flew through the air while invisible towards Gotham Cemetery. It was a other paranormal species. In this place there was an old building and Naruto felt the signal from inside. It seemed to be a leap from the feeling he got. Naruto didn't stop and went directly for it. Extremely old and falling apart, Naruto came upon the being, sleeping upside down in a dark room. Looked animalistic desires were overpowering the human side. Yes, human side because it was human. He couldn't and much without getting in contact, so Naruto flew to the target and tapped its head. Using this style, Naruto could block their pressure points and make targets immobile. With the hit on the back of the head, the creature couldn't make any movement. From reading, he stayed in the form, the less human it became. The man-bat was Kirk. Dr. Kirk Langstrom. Man-bat serum, a special formula that had the ability to turn the user into a hideous bat monster, the man-bat. Though because of its temporary side effects, multiple people had taken advantage of it, including Langstrom himself. Often, those had also almost used it to form a man-bat army. Kirk, but the transformation also affected his mind, meaning he also acted as a criminal at times. He had fought beside Batman and against him. Addiction was harmful to everyone. He was useful for his intelligence and power. Naruto and utilized the true transformation jutsu. He and reinforced his human side using his mental powers. Kirk opened his eyes to the side of the room with shock clear in his eyes. He transformed. He was captured like he was just a tiny bug and there was no resistance that he could form. He had some money and had escaped to this place. It took some time for the serum to wear off. He was times ended up committing other crimes, so it was troublesome. He had cured it once, but better to be a monster in this dark world. Live created a stronger version of the serum and drank it. It was control instead while the monster became stronger. It could lift 5 tons and move almost touching Mach 1. It could endure its body. He was addicted to the serum. It was a permanent version since the normal one was temporary. Once man helped him but someone else found him. It was monster body was transformed into a human form and he could still feel all his monstrous powers. Who is he? Why is he doing this? Kirk, who stared at him with that dark gaze that sent chills down his spine. Thank help with. Kirk decided to act courteously instead of panicking and getting killed. Naruto stared at him in a completely different form. He was his will. It was armor that boosted his combat abilities and durability. It was made by experts, an armor for the future leader. The against him. To go with the armor, he had a battle axe that was made from the sage weapons. It wasn't always using the axe form. He either used the axe or the lance. It was support. These chains could further be reinforced by his adamantine chains from the Uzumaki bloodline. He intended that they needed to know his looks and name. He had such expertise on his side since he didn't have Tsunade now. Kirk, I want you to serve under me. For and hero business. In return I will pay you for your services and won't put you in prison for putting the city in danger because of your addiction. Naruto avoided his gaze. Kirk was surprised the man knew about his problem and felt that the man might have read his memories. His word make money for research. Seeing his abyss-like gaze, Kirk knew he didn't mean putting him in human prison. I don't mean so much left in life. I will do it, Kirk replied as he saw no other option. Good. Work for me. Remember, never try to cross me. I am very nice most of the time but I hate scum and traitors. Naruto he felt the killing intent. It was monstrous that he almost shat his pants. Naruto process was usually time-consuming and couldn't be done within minutes. It took chakra was very potent and he was leaving tiny amounts into the body. The required push. This was just some starter package, and if they proved useful he intended to fully train them into his elite killer squad. He would enhance the physical capabilities would continue increasing until they were at least 10% of his power. Naruto want people reading their minds and knowing anything about the group. He It was the caged bird seal. He didn't put the explosion seal on his body since Kirk wasn't a real villain. Fine much, but it gave him another advantage. The others got a dose of reality while Kirk was exempted from it since he didn't have such problems. He long because Naruto gave him basic fighting skills and body control. He could literally put the air on flame and cause massive destruction with the movement of his hand. His speed increased very fast and he participated in countless things in a single hour. 1 hour. Since he could move much faster than sound casually and his mind operated on that scale. Getting that Naruto wanted to take over the world and make it better. He had a lot to say about that, but he was afraid and didn't question it. He did something to stop it. He agreed that the world was corrupt and needed a change. The hero shot conversation. Kirk left towards home a happy man with new purpose. He could he wanted. Naruto saw him off and had informed him that he would summon him when needed. Summon using the seal. Naruto was Poison Ivy. He moved towards her, invisible from view, and found her in some abandoned factory. She The moment he landed, she had sensed his presence as he also gave off the nature feeling and she was surprised. She thought it was a comrade. The feeling was new since she saw everyone as a pawn except Harley, a close friend. To her for flowers. She had zero empathy for human life. Pam's eyes did not give a friendly vibe, but she ignored such cosmetics as she wanted to know about him. Welcome to my decided to check things out in a friendly manner. Her body manipulating others. The air was also filled with an aphrodisiac. Naruto didn't speak and he took her into his arms. Pamela reacted before Naruto had broken through her mental defense and taken what he needed. She couldn't move in his grasp as seals crawled on her body. Before talking to someone like Pamela, Naruto always liked to have data on hand. Poison rate of vegetation in nature to counteract the problems caused by humans, as she loved nature more than humans. Pamela into sunlight. Though the doctor little Pamela's abusive father had forbidden her from going outside at all. On one angrily punched her in the face, giving her a black eye. As if his mother stepped outside and began gardening. Seeing she liked gardening because the flowers listen to her, and sometimes, if she stays very quiet, they speak back to her. When nothing to worry about. The abuse continued. Every sought his wife's forgiveness with flowers, and her garden would grow. That was how Pamela learned that flowers could manipulate people. However, she learned of human cruelty when her father murdered her mother in cold blood, having had enough of her disobedience to him. He barely feeding the very flowers she planted before being arrested by the police. At the trial, murder, and sentenced to life in prison. Pamela was then sent to live with a relative. In college, Pamela created designer drugs, doling pheromone pills out in order to study their effects. The university of her activities, and she was expelled and put in jail pending a criminal indictment. However, she had already used her pills to get the dean under her thumb. Charges and she graduated summa cum laude. After graduating, Pamela visited her father in prison for the first time since the murder of her mother. He had stood in silence, just staring at her and waiting for her to make the first move. After a time, she decided to do what made the most sense. He was dead, and the toxin used to kill him was untraceable. The dealership at Wayne Enterprises straight out of college at their R&D site just after the merger with Kane Chemical. She had developed pharmaceuticals and cosmetic applications, but she had greater aspirations towards the environment as a whole, as she considered the modern world ugly and disgusting. She their surroundings. She had killed people for her goals and used others as tools. She was one of the biggest criminals in Gotham. But over time, and stopped acting in a dangerous manner, though she aimed to making forests sprout up and she needed money for the research. I am here for you. I want you to serve me from now on and make up for your sins. Naruto finished checking her memories. She had a tragic past, but he didn't give two hoots about it. None of that gave her the reason to become a monster. He had hands. These people, because he lived a privileged life. Naruto did live an ideal life. He was loved by everyone. He had luxury. They taught him everything they knew. He got memories of experience from others to make him better. All in all, carry. But he did understand them. One of Tate because of tragic backstories. He was taught he saw such things. So, they had him experience the memories and not just read them. It made him mentally and emotionally strong. With that stories. Getting back, Pamela was an attractive woman. One of women. She had long red hair and green eyes, and she wore a green dress made from plants. But the fact that she was highly compatible with his wood style and nature, along with her brilliant mind. He could read and have the same opinions or thoughts. Why should I do that? Pam stared at him without flinching. If you dare to say no, this is not a choice, you will do it and you will repay the debt to the world. Naruto her to freeze up and see visions of doom. Give me another reason. I am not afraid of death. Pam gritted everything about you. I will make this world much better from now on and increase the vegetation around the globe. I will give. Naruto replied as he spoke in an enchanting tone to build a desire inside Pamela to follow him. Fear like a bug. He gave them fear and then gave them the ideal world. I don't deal in empty words. Pam tear him up. Just because she was trying to change didn't mean she was a pushover. She hated from him and felt attraction towards him because of it, but she didn't like being controlled. Naruto dish acts. She moved out of Gotham and done her thing in so many other places. There was stronger than others. She had good abilities and she gave him the same feeling of the world. It seemed abilities. He could give her a boost that was more potent than others. She could become his left hand. Friendship. It was not her choice. Naruto waved his hand in front of her eyes and snapped his fingers. Pam control them anymore. Naruto hit the ground with his foot and flowers sprouted from the asphalt ground. Pam wasn't just a mind game. It was reality. He was connected to the world. Nature loved him. Her plants loved him. She was just power. I accept. Pam trusted the feeling of nature from him and accepted the offer. She liked his presence and he seemed to be a man of action. She would do and if she could control him. She had complete confidence in her looks. She was a could resist her looks. Good, I will leave my sign on you and we will talk about this relationship. Naruto dominance over her and show her he was the boss. He could very much. Her had been subjected to poisons from a young age. He had built up immunity to all kinds of poisons and diseases. Whole and boosted her powers to a new level. She was boosted but her plant ability went through the roof. It was a complete mess by the time he was done. She was completely full from this power and the pleasure had blanked her mind. Naruto his chakra. He could further increase it by manipulating the nerves and the emotional aspect with his chakra. Naruto she goes boom. With this action, he had destroyed the two things she had confidence in. Obviously, it didn't end there. Naruto started to shake. She was going through a nightmare. She didn't have empathy for humans. Naruto brought it back. He healed her broken mind. He could for each other. She had he or she would die instead of getting freedom. Naruto appreciated beauty but he was immune to seduction. He went on for 10 minutes before Pamela finally managed to wake up. Her whole body was covered in sweat. She turned her condition. She actually felt guilt and pain from her actions. The only thing about the collateral damage. She don't stare so much, your eyes might fall out. Pamela, Pamela, you will change or you will die. I get the reality I intend to achieve. You will be part of it or you will not, that is your decision. Naruto felt a lot better now. Her powers had grown by multiple levels but she felt mentally tired after that ordeal. She knew he would take the others as well. He was gathering an army under his control. He was he would do it, but that was his intention. It was crazy, but she liked it. Hehe, I will follow along my lord. Pamela mode. She had given in and decided to follow him. To see the kiss was also very nice. She had never felt such enhanced pleasure before. It had about his goal and him being the emperor. This was basic thing that all his subordinates would know. How be careful about people catching his subordinates with too much information. And guide